anything that stands out the most that you've had to fight for that you can share with us?
I think just the right to exist while being trans, and the right to exist in Black spaces while being Black and trans. And oftentimes people don't understand that as a Black trans person, and especially as a Black trans woman, right, women are already thought of as tertiary characters in every story. And so adding the fact that you're trans, which means that you're a delegitimized woman, because people don't believe you're a woman, you're a man in a wig, right? And on top of that, because people don't understand sexuality versus gender, you're a gay man in a wig who thinks that he's a woman. So you're the ultimate disrespect. There's a hierarchy that people don't understand, and that goes for Black people, that goes for white folks, that goes for just folks in general who are heterosexual and cis. And I think that the overall everyday battle, like I tell people all the time, a lot of folks don't know that in 38 states, I could still be fired from my job or legally let go from my lease if one of my landlords or my managers figures out or has the inkling, meaning they don't have to know for a fact. They can just assume that I am trans or gay or lesbian, and I can be put off my job with no reason, and they can tell me to my face, I am firing you because I think that you're a trans person. I don't need proof. You have to go today. And it is legal in 38 states to do that. My landlord can do the same thing. If I were a gay man and he were to assume that my partner coming over was indeed my partner, he could put me out because he does not agree with the lifestyle. And so I think that my biggest struggle in this as a Black trans woman is being so hell-bent and so gung-ho for women's rights, but then also having Black women sometimes be some of my biggest oppressors and fighting for that, and not understanding that, you know, while I am a different type of woman, I am still a woman. And so therefore, when stuff happens to women, it happens to me as well, which means that I'm not just going to be out here screaming every time a trans woman.
You're not exempt. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. From that. And especially because in a lot of spaces I pass. And so I don't get the privilege to sit on the sidelines while women are being, you know, talked down to and told that their bodily autonomy isn't their own. And I think that my biggest fight in that is that coming up against the African-American community as a whole, but then coming up against Black women who don't understand my love for Black women and Black women's culture. You know, that's been hard.
You know what, Hope, it's interesting because sitting here as a Black woman also, I can say that through all my struggles and a lot of things that I've gone through, I have had, it's been African-American women, and that the competition, and I think, I don't even know, I can't say if it's just because it's trans women, but it's something that happens with us. And I don't know if it stems from us competing to get in master's house. I don't know where it stemmed from. There's always this competition. So then you see an African-American woman. Now it's like, okay, I got to compete against this and this and that. It's something that happens between African-American women, period, that I would love to see the end of it. I would love to see us support each other more. So it's a little bit more across the board, but I can understand also in your case, you're like, it's even more because I'm a trans woman. But I don't necessarily think, I think whatever it is that we use against each other, they can now turn it on a trans woman. But I'm not exempted. I think that it's the same thing. As a whole, Black women as a whole, we have to be more accepting of each other. And I think that happens as we become more accepting of ourselves.
Correct.
You know,
there has to be, I think also there has to be a large conversation amongst trans women, because I'm a big accountability partner, right? I love to hold myself accountable as well as holding other people accountable. And when I talk to a lot of the young ladies in the trans community, I like to hold us accountable for not understanding that being a Black woman is being a cisgender biological Black woman. Let me start. Is one of the hardest things in the world, and watching the way that society, Black men, the culture steals from Black women all the time, and then to pretend like we don't understand why Black women are upset and why Black women are just not here for the stuff sometimes, I think that does us a disservice. I understand why some Black women are mad. I understand why some Black women are not here for it. I understand that Black women are sick and tired of every single time is one step forward. Here goes something else. Here goes some new toy for men to play with and act like they don't see us. I get it. And
Yeah.
it's just like, that there needs to be a space for Black women to be able to express that without being called names and without feeling guilty for
Yes,
feeling, like, and that's crazy.
I agree. And just, I mean, my heart is a bit overwhelmed because, like I said before, I simply had a desire to do whatever I could to help. And I wanted to find out more about the culture and what it was like and what was happening amongst the trans women and trans men. I just so happen my show is about trans women, and really wanted to get together so we can help the youth, the trans youth that are
Yes.
out there, that are
Yes.
motherless and fatherless. And
Yes.
it's still my heart. And so to meet someone like you that is pretty much, you're on the front lines and you are fighting. So I want to go back to, you said that, you know, you could be put out in 38 states, and I don't know where you live now, but how do you do this knowing that at any minute you could possibly lose so many things, you know, just
Otherwise, you lose your life. And I think that that's the part that folks don't understand. Living a lie does not just affect me in a way that mentally, physically, and emotionally bothers me, but living that lie would affect somebody's daughter, would affect somebody else's family, would affect somebody else's finances, would affect somebody else's future, would affect somebody else's emotional, mental, and you know, like all of that stuff. And I think that what people fail to realize is that somebody coming out and just saying like, this is who I am, and being who they are, is not just good for them, but it's good for the person that they would have been lying to in the long run. And it's good for the people that they would have roped into their situation in the long run. And so for me, I don't think I've ever had a desire to hide who I've been or who I am. It's always been something that for me, it's paramount. If I am not happy in this situation and if it no longer serves me, I can't be a part of that. I don't want to walk in
I
comfortable.
love it and I appreciate it, because I do know that there are people who are hiding, and I understand it in the sense of hiding for fear for their lives, hiding because they would lose their income, hiding because they would lose their, you know, friends or whatever the situation is. So I can appreciate having someone like you that says, I know it's hard, but at the end of the day, life will be better for you and someone else if we don't hide, if we do live boldly. And
Right.
it's such, what do you consider, where are we similar in terms of, and separating it for a moment, where are we similar in terms of what a trans woman fights for and what a Black woman, what have you seen in your advocacy? How do they cross the road? Where do you see us at similar in that?
So I think that, like I say, I think my main thing is the idea of voices. So women's voices are not seen with bodily, like with biological autonomy in workspaces. If you identify as a woman in the workplace, there is a wage gap, there is a voice gap, there's usually a hierarchy gap within the idea of promotions. And I think that that's one of my biggest things. As far as education is concerned, women are not afforded the same amount of restitutional scholarship as men are, because
Wow.
women are seen to be stereotypically and scientifically and statistically more successful in schools, but that does not always mean that women have the means to go to those
Go
schools.
to school, yeah.
And so what I've seen that there has been a congruency in trans women and cis women is that there's a conversation around not being heard in the workplace and not being seen on school campuses and educational campuses, as well as the bodily autonomy. For cis women, there is the autonomy over deciding about abortions. For trans women, there's the bodily autonomy on deciding when and where to get surgeries. there's healthcare discrepancies. And so when we talk about them, although they're different, they're within the same category. So when we're marching, like doing these women's marches, and we're fighting against people like Brett Kavanaugh, who still made his way to the Supreme Court, we are doing that together for the same reasons. While, you know, once we get into the hospital, we go to different wings, we're still trying to make our way into those doors. You know, once we go to those schools, we're going for different studies, we're still trying to get into the doors together, and a lot of people miss that.
Yeah, that's a great analogy, and crossing and showing. I mean, I am a believer that if we can focus on where our commonality and come together in what's common, and I'm a believer that our fight will be stronger, and that particularly with us, and when us, I mean by African American people, we get into a lot of infighting. Perfect example, you know, someone can post something passionate and they can be doing, and then one of us will come back and they have this negativity about it. It's like we're never good enough. If we don't speak, we're damned. If we do speak, we're damned. I would like to see us come together and where we're common. So when we're coming together as women, whether we're a trans woman or a cisgender woman, and what are our commonalities? And the thing about it is, if we work together, the world would be better for Black women as a whole. Do you know what it's like? Like, honestly, and this might be a little funny on the funny side. I'm sitting there like, you got to be a bad, you know what, to even want to be a Black woman. It's like, you sure you want to, this what you want to do? Because look how we, like you said, we're seen and where we are. And honestly, African American women are some women that are they're more entrepreneurs. They have more businesses, you know, and yet when you look at the pay scale, like you said, and you look at the representation and the respect in those arenas, like political arenas and things like that, it's just not the recognition and the admonition that we deserve. So here you have this young boy who recognizes that this is not me, this is my body, but I know who I am on the inside. I don't think you make that decision easy, because like, who wants to just jump out and say they want to be a Black woman? Like, you know, like we got goodies waiting on you. No, you know, you're jumping into a fight.
It's never, and what I tell people all the time, because I that's one of those conversations around choice, right? And so I tell people all the time that nobody makes the choice to do or be anything as it pertains to your personal feeling. The only choice that you make is whether or not you're going to embrace it or not. You know, some people suppress it, some people embrace it. So the choice that I made was to embrace it and to deal with whatever consequences come with it as a result. There are some people who just have not been able to do that. And like you said, you got to be a jamma to look at what you headed for, see the fight, running there. You know, like, you got to be that.
And look at all the music be talking about us. It's like the TV shows be about us, like breaking our backs, honey. Just, you know, all the flavor. I said, it's so funny. Some people would not be famous on TV or music if they didn't have a Black woman to talk about. It is.
Let's be very clear. Or emulate. If they didn't have Black women to emulate, if they didn't have Black women's culture, if they knew nothing about braids, if they knew nothing about the swing of Black women's hips and the rhythm that Black women carry naturally, the bodies that Black women are born with, if they didn't have a blueprint, a lot of these people would be lost.
Exactly.
Kim would be lost.
Yeah. I definitely think that we have to come together and begin to fight, just in general as Black women, and just to make the world better for people who are coming after us. And there has been a culture of pitting us against one another. I can say that. And a culture, and I have to be honest.